Everybody, I know it's Saturday and periscoping is a little slow today, but I just wanted to take advantage of my beautiful scenery here. I'm still out at the Point Albark's Lighthouse here on Lake Huron, Michigan. You can see the lighthouse behind me. I'm kind of out on these little rocks out from the campground. I remember as a kid, I used to come out to places like this and perch fish off these rocks. You can't see them, but there's some kids swimming in the lake on the other side of the rocks here. It's much more fun to stay out of the ice-cold water. Hey, Morgan. I just wanted to talk, as you can see, a little bit about NaNoWriMo. I know it's August, and that's way ahead of us. But as you can see, I put on my shirt this morning from last year, and I started thinking about it. And it's not too early to start thinking about nano. You're gonna the reason why most people give up partially. So, well, let me explain what it is in case there's some of you who don't know. National Novel Writing Month has been going on for, I want to say, about 10 years now. It might not be that long. Somebody help correct me if I'm wrong. But it started out as just a kind of a small operation, and it's grown quite a bit since then. But it's basically every November a lot of writers attempt to write 50,000 words in 1 month during the month of November. And 50,000 words is a lot if you're a part-time writer and not doing this all the time. There are some writers who do that as a typical month, but for most of us who only get an hour a day or so, that is pushing the limits. It's not so much the daily word count. It's the fact that to hit it, you pretty much have to be writing every day, or have an extremely high word count for 4 or 5 days a week. So it just teaches you consistency, teaches you to stick with it and finish. And the best way to make sure you are successful in nano is to start planning ahead. You'll want to. I tend to plot anyway. I like to plot out my novels in advance. I am not a pantser. The problem with going into something like nano as a pantser is you just don't have the time you normally do to think about a scene before you get to it. If you've only got an hour a night to write, as is the case with a lot of people, you don't have that time, that luxury of thinking about what you're going to write that same night. So the best thing you can do right now is to start thinking about what you're going to write for nano. You probably already have a novel in mind. If not, start thinking about that. On my podcast, I talk about the Randy Ingermanson's Snowflake Method. He's written a book called The Snowflake Method, and it's on Amazon. I think it's $3. I love the way he steps through the process of writing a novel. The purpose is just to slowly build it. You start out with a single line. What's this novel about? Then you throw in your characters. Just a quick one-liner about each character. Then you expand on your single sentence, expand that summary, and you just kind of slowly build around. You go, from the novel building to the plot to the characters, and back to the plot and back to the characters, until you kind of develop this basic outline for your novel. And his last step is to actually do a full scene outline. A lot of people don't like to do that step, but for something like nano, I think it's very helpful. Walking into nano with at least 30 scenes outlined. And typically a novel will be anywhere from 40 to 60 scenes, 70 scenes. And if you have those lined up before you sit at your desk and start writing, you can just look at your little spreadsheet and say, today this happened. This is what's supposed to happen in the scene. It can be 1 or 2 lines. You know who the point of view character is. You know what happens in the scene, and then you start writing and get through it. And you don't edit. It's another thing I do like about nano is it teaches you to get through the scenes, get through the novel without stopping to constantly edit. Because if you do that, you're not going to make the 50,000 words. You're going to be spend more time editing than you do writing. And it's one thing. I don't have a lot of hard and fast rules about outlining a novel because every writer is different. But I really believe in the concept of getting that fast draft done as quickly as possible. It will suck. Let it suck. Then when you come back and edit, that's when you start filling in the blanks. You start tying up loose ends. I did not edit during NaNoWriMo, Morgan. I might have been editing the previous novel at that point. As a matter of fact, that would have been when I wrote Angel and Me, and I probably was actually editing my previous novel at the point. I tend to overlap them, so I knew I wanted to get that one finished by March. That was Now I Knew You, my first novel I published. So I was actually, if I was editing that novel, not the novel I was working on at the time. That's how I tend to work. I overlap 3 novels at the same time. One's in edit stage, one's in draft stage, and one's in plotting stage. So during Nano, I just wrote to beat the band. The novel I wrote, Angel and Me, even though it was probably, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the plot. I think it's my best work right now. And for those of you who haven't heard me pitch it before, it's basically, I wondered what would happen if a, ultra popular 17-year-old girl was in an accident and her soul left her body and took up residence in the head of a 15-year-old nerdy boy. So that was a lot of fun. You can imagine the kind of humor I was able to drag out of that. And of course, I do like the serious story plot, story plot too. So there was a life lesson, and as usual, I tried to get across in those stories. And I've had a few people tell me that they did cry at the end of the novel, and that's always a yes, I won. Type of situation. I nailed it. If somebody tells me they cry at the end of my novel, I know I nailed it. So that's when I wrote Angel and Me. But it was a fairly simple plot, and it was something that you could write quickly without thinking too hard about it. You just knew it had to be funny in a lot of scenes, and you could really let each scene carry itself onto the next scene. As you can imagine, in a plot like that, where there's going to be a lot of humor involved, the scenes kind of write themselves. If you're writing something a little more in depth, like a thriller or something like that during Nano, it's going to be a little more difficult because there has to be more. That's when pacing and certain elements of a thriller have to come together, and you have to think about it a little more. But if you plan in advance, you can pull that off. So that's really my big spiel for the day. Is if you are planning to participate in Nano, start thinking about it now. Pick up Randy's book, The Snowflake Method that I mentioned, and just a step-by-step process for developing your novel. And if you decide you don't like it, you lost $3. It's how much I've thrown away a lot more than that on writing conferences that I get much out of. So start thinking about your Nano strategy now. Get yourself a spreadsheet and start putting things together. If you're that far advanced at this point, get your scenes outlined. By the end of October, hopefully you'll have every scene, at least a one-liner written down on a pad of paper or a spreadsheet. I like the spreadsheet because then I can track word count and come back and keep updating things later. But once again, let me give you a nice review of the Lighthouse. From Point Out Barks, and this is in Huron City, Michigan. Ooh, that's hard to do that way because everything's backwards. From Huron City, Michigan, on beautiful Lake Michigan. You all have a blessed day, and I will talk to you next week. Bye now.